Incompetent people surround me wherever I go, and I wish it wasn't out of line to tell them so. The waiter never seems to get my order right. Seems like I got to complain almost every night. How much longer can I take this abuse? I try to be nice, but what's the use when I'm the only one that does anything right? Sometimes it seems like the world is run by chimpanzees, even though some of them might come with college degrees. Getting hard to separate the facts from fiction, but I think I can say with obvious conviction that in this old world, everybody's wrong but me.
Welcome to Uncommon Sense, the show where sense matters more than dollars and truth matters more than political correctness. I'm your host, Charlotte Laws, and today we're going to be discussing the 2008 presidential election, new findings on alcohol consumption, illegal immigration, and the racist tendency of aging brains, among other topics. And first, I'd like to introduce my esteemed panelists. We have Mr. Bryce Devin. What's your name again? What is it again?
DeVincenzi.
DeVincenzi. I always have trouble saying that.
It's okay.
And you're a real estate agent, and you have a great interest in politics.
And he's an actor.
And he's an actor, too.
Yeah,
we actually just found that out.
And can you pronounce my name?
And your name is Charles Parcell, who happens to be my husband, and you're an attorney and a mediator. And welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So my first question to you is, do you drink alcohol? And
Yep.
Are you a moderate drinker if you do, or a heavy drinker?
Yes and no. Depends on the time of life.
What does that mean? You mean at like 10 o'clock as opposed to 9 o'clock? Is that what you mean?
No, not the time of day. It depends on various stages of my life.
So you drink now, though? You're a moderate drinker?
No.
Oh, what are you? I thought you were, and I'm your wife.
No, you haven't seen me lift a glass.
Oh, you're in the closet. Is that it?
No, you haven't seen me lift a glass to my lips in 2 months.
That's true. In 2 months, you haven't.
Maybe 3.
What about you? You're spending too much time on me, Charles.
Very occasionally, like not very much at all. Like I think I could count the number of times I've been falling down drunk on one hand.
Okay. Well, there's new research.
Would you like me to tell you about the time I actually did fall down drunk? In Scotland, in the great... No, perhaps you wouldn't. No? All right.
If it's short, you can tell me.
Scotland seems like the place to do it.
That's probably, you probably fit right in.
Yes, because the beer in Scotland, which is served in pint mugs, is called heavy. And the whiskey is in a little gut. So that you always ask, you say a pint of heavy and a wee dram. if you drink pints of heavy and wee dram, say from 6 in the evening till about 11, then, as my friend Andrew Todd and I did one time, we staggered out onto the moor of Glencoe, which is the scene of the great massacre of the MacDonalds by the Campbells. Do you want me to go on? No.
Probably not.
Okay.
But that was really interesting. I want to thank you for sharing. Well, they did find out in this study that alcohol, even though they've always said that like wine is good for you and good for your cardiovascular system, actually alcohol shrinks the brain. And this is a new finding. And actually, as you get older anyway, your brain shrinks by 2% per year, which I never knew. So if you don't drink at all, your brain can be, they said they did a study and they said that like people that had never touched alcohol, it was 78.6% of the cranial space on average, whereas if you previously drank but stopped, it was 78.2%, moderate was 77.8%, and heavy drinkers were 77.2%, which means that my brain is bigger than yours.
True enough. So on the other hand, quality beats quality.
Oh yeah, thanks a lot.
that actually makes a lot of sense because I have known of people, distant relatives and whatnot, who were heavy drinkers, and then towards the end of their life, when they fairly early, like late 60s, early 70s, they started having bouts of dementia. senility started setting in, forgetfulness, whereas all the other people in my family who have been more or less teetotalers and hardly ever drank remain pretty much sharp up until, the end of their life.
Yeah. Well, there's also there's another study that's done that says that people are, as they get older, they're drinking less. And so they say that by the time people reach 80 now, 40% of men and 60% of women don't drink at all. So there's a big shift to not drinking, whereas,
After what age?
After the age, well, this is at age 80 was what they had done the study. This was the American Journal of Medicine.
Okay.
And they're not sure if it's, because of, Mothers Against Drunk Driving and just social pressure, or I think it might actually have to do with people, there's an increase in prescription drugs, usage of prescription drugs. And I think that maybe there are a lot of people that are going from, feeling better through alcohol that are going into feeling better through prescription drugs. I don't know. I mean, that's just what I'm guessing. I know that when they did studies of prescription drug usage, just for depression alone, it was very high. In most cities in this country, it was like 15 to 19% of the country take drugs to combat depression. And the lowest was in Los Angeles and New York, and it was like 9%.
I definitely think there's more people in Los Angeles who need to be on medications. I will attest to that.
Well, another reason that you tend to drink less as you grow older, unless you happen to be Winston Churchill, is, as I was explaining, when I fell into the moor and woke at 4:30 nearly frozen solid, I was 21 at the time, and I revived within a few hours. The older you get, the more likely you are to fall asleep after drinking. So you just can't, your body just won't deal with it. You have to become a little bit more careful.
Well, he drinks a lot on Christmas Eve, and so he falls asleep on the couch. He used to do this all the time, and my daughter would, as a joke, like pile like newspapers all over him, so you couldn't even see him at all. He was like completely covered, and you'd sleep there for a very long time. So yeah, that's true.
But that's because once you've opened a bottle of champagne, it has to be finished. And you won't drink it with me.
That's right, I don't drink at all. I've never had a glass of alcohol in my life.
I'm forced to drink the champagne.
My brain's really big.
Ever?
Never, in my whole life.
Wow.
She never has. I think the mistake I possibly made was opening the second bottle.
Maybe it was the fifth bottle that was a real mistake.
And feeling the need. This is a pretty interesting show so far.
It is. And you know what, they also, if you want to increase your brain size, searching on the internet helps. That's another study they found out.
I've heard that, yeah.
Which is interesting. It's better than reading. You do a lot of reading. I do a lot of internet searching. Ha, ha, ha. Because that's where I find my articles, all my news articles on the internet. So my next topic has to do with bin Laden, and we've actually never on this show discussed bin Laden per se. And so do you think bin Laden is dead or alive? And do you think he was behind 9/11? That's the question I put out to you. And we were discussing this in the office the other day, and I've actually believed for a long time that he's been dead. And then you brought up Benazir Bhutto.
Benazir Bhutto was actually doing an interview on BBC.
Right.
And she actually referred to a gentleman by the name of Omar Sheikh. And Omar Sheikh is the one who killed or murdered bin Laden.
That's what she said, right?
And this is on an interview. It's available on YouTube. If you go to YouTube and you type in Benazir Bhutto, Omar Sheikh, and bin Laden, if you could spell all those, this clip will come up from the BBC interview.
I saw it, yeah.
But if you go to the BBC website and also find this exact same interview, for some reason that segment has been omitted.
Yeah, they took out just that sentence that she said, and they said that the reason is because they thought she had misspoken, and they didn't want it to be confusing to people.
Benazir Bhutto didn't seem like the type to misspeak.
Well, it doesn't seem like it, and it was bizarre that David Frost, who was interviewing her, didn't even say anything like, "Oh, wait a minute, you know, what do you mean by bin Laden was murdered?" He didn't say a word. He just it was in passing, like discussing it.
And Musharraf also said that he believed bin Laden to be dead as well.
And then I saw another interview too by Mike Mullen, who is the highest-ranking member of the armed forces.
He's actually the brother-in-law of a loan officer who used to work in our office.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He actually went to school at Notre Dame in Sherman Oaks, too. I found that.
He actually spoke there last month.
But he said that the government finds bin Laden is not of any concern. His name never comes up. They're not searching for him. And so it does seem like they must believe. I mean, they have a reason to want to keep bin Laden alive. Our government does, and so does Al-Qaeda, because obviously it keeps Al-Qaeda more powerful, which really isn't even a centralized organization anyway, but it keeps that point of view more powerful, and our government has this nemesis, this enemy that we can pin everything on and be angry about. And
well, let me just say it first. I've seen the Benazir Bhutto tape. It was not presented as a revelation. It seems certainly clear to me, with respect to Bryce here, that she misspoke. There's no Omar Sheikh, ridiculous idea that he would have killed Osama bin Laden. He was, a card-carrying Al Qaeda member.
Well,
and
he was part of the Taliban, but he was a double agent for the Pakistani government too.
Well, Omar Sheikh has never come forth and said that.
Well, that's what most
Benazir
people
Bhutto
say,
meant to say was Omar Sheikh
killed
four. No, that he killed 4 bin Laden. That's why it went over David Frost's head. This was not a big revelation.
But I've never heard anybody else say that. They say, BBC said they thought he met Daniel Pearl. That's what I've actually heard from, or I think it was BBC or other sources. So,
well, unfortunately, we can't ask her.
This famous revelation is not really...
Do you think bin Laden was behind 9/11? Because I don't
as for whether bin Laden is dead and alive, I think at this stage of the game, it is actually irrelevant. But
whether he's dead or alive,
yeah, the man.
Both of our presidential candidates say, I'm going to find him, I'm going to get him, this is like a priority. I mean, it's a fiction, I believe.
It is a fiction, isn't it? Because we know that it's not a priority for the Bush administration, not the last few years. As for whether he was behind 9/11, yeah, why not? I mean, he took credit for it. Everyone has attributed it to him. Yes, he was behind 9/11.
See, I don't think he was. I don't think he ever was.
I think it really... I mean, you have the conspiracy theorists that say that our United States government actually did remote control with the planes and crashed them into the towers. And then on this side, you have bin Laden and Al Qaeda. I think
truth is in the middle.
The truth is in the middle somewhere. And there are many failures on so many different levels of government and national security that I don't know if they let it happen or if it was just gross mismanagement of the resources that we had in place. But until there's another investigation, none of it will ever be exposed, regardless of where the truth is. And so it's like, the question should be, it's like, is it likely that we could have another investigation?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it is likely. Even the government, the Bush administration is now saying that bin Laden is not behind 9/11. Tony Snow originally, about 2 years ago, said that he was, but now Dana Perino is saying, no, he wasn't, and we have the guy in jail who was. And I originally thought he wasn't because I remember seeing a video that they put on American TV, and I can't find it on the internet. I've been looking all over the videos, and I have no idea why it's not there, of bin Laden watching television, watching the towers fall, and saying, we did it, which is how they translated it. And when I saw that, I said to myself, that's just like, a whole bunch of people sitting in their living room saying, a football game, their team wins, and saying, we did it, we won, our team won. And that's how I perceived it when I saw it. But our government came out and the media came out and said, oh, that's evidence, that's proof that he did it, he was behind it.
Well, it's unimportant. Clearly, his message was an inspiration.
Whoever, I agree with that.
Whatever local people actually pulled it off. But I would like to say, as for the conspiracy theorists, that somehow the American government did it to us. Ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Those conspiracy theorists are way out of line.
Yeah.
I mean, it's we know a great deal about it.
Right.
As for this theory, if we have another, I keep slightly disagreeing with you.
That's quite all right.
If only we could have another investigation. Look at all the investigations into John Kennedy's death. It's still a grey area.
We don't want to pay more tax dollars to more investigations.
As for inefficiency, I mean, there's been so many investigations which clearly prove massive inefficiency. And we only have to look at Katrina to know that at this level, government's not functioning very well. And we have so many CIA and FBI people saying, oh, we didn't liaise with each other, it was a complete mess.
Right.
So I think this is, we have all the truth that we need out there.
Just something to take note before we move on. We spent $5 million on the 9/11 investigation. We spent $40 million investigating Clinton and his discrepancies in the Oval Office.
Yeah, there's a disgrace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aging brains, that's the next topic.
Ah.
Why are you looking at him?
I'm not. We always think of older people as, when older people seem to be, racist, that kind of thing, we think of them as just being a product of a less enlightened time. But studies show that as people get older, they become less inhibited, and therefore they become more racist, which, you know, I mean, I do think older people get less inhibited. I think that it's, I mean, they become, you know.
Well, when you hit 90, you can say whatever you want.
Yeah, I mean, because I remember my aunt, I mean, she wasn't racist, but she was certainly like wild, and she was going out on dates every night and seeing truckers and drinking like crazy, and she became very wild, and she was never like that when she was younger. So I think back to that, and I think to myself, maybe there is something said for this. And it's a worry because, you know, I always say that that's like the greatest thing of our time is that we've, you know, that racism is not such an issue as it was. And I think that has a lot to do with the decrease in crime and just kind of a happier, you know, country that we have in general. But it worries me with the aging baby boomers. And if this is true, you know, is it going to get worse in the future? That's my question, because we're going to have all these baby boomers who are, you know, this huge older population. Is it going to be worse as far as, you know, prejudice against, you know, whatever the group may be, gays or blacks or, you know, any sort of minority or whatever it might be? I mean, I don't know. It's just a question. What do you think?
Right. Thanks for deferring to me. I suppose age before good looks. The answer is...
No, you're very handsome. What are you talking about?
Thank you.
You're both very handsome.
I have no anecdotal evidence. When I encounter racism, I know a couple of people who are kind of racist. I mean, it creeps out. They're not old. I mean, this is a fantastic
I don't know,
theory to me. I don't experience it in myself. I may become more anti-spouse as
but you're still...
Just kidding.
But you're still young, too.
Oh, I am still young. So this is one of these funny, you know, little snippets of information that one can't really do much with.
Well, in my neighborhood, there are two people who live right next door to one another. One of them, he's 85 years old. And he said to one of our neighbors who is openly gay, said, you know, I don't think people are born, or I don't think it's a choice. I believe people are born gay. This guy's 85 years old, grew up in a completely different time. His next door neighbor is openly gay and Jewish and says he will never vote for a black man for president. And he's 27 years old. So whether racism or not is attributed to an older brain or not, I don't know. I believe that the inhibitions are definitely lessened as you get older.
Yeah, I think so too.
You probably don't care what other people think anymore.
That's true. Well, what do you think about in the election? Because we're going to be talking about the election. Do you think there is sort of any unconscious racism? People are talking about that. Some people say that Obama would be ahead another 6 points. Right now he's about 10 points ahead of McCain, and they say that he'd be another 6 points ahead if he weren't black. Although I think there are also a lot of people who love the idea of kind of breaking that glass ceiling of having a black person get to that office. And I think there are a lot of people that might even be voting for him because he's black, you know, and wanting to see that change and see that happen in this country, which also creates a better perception throughout the world that we're not, you know, that we're much more open and, you know, that we're a different society than perhaps is perceived under the Bush administration.
Well, it seems very clear to me this campaign's been going on for more than 2 years, and it's very hard to come up with different topics to talk about. If this was a 8-week campaign, everyone would know that some people are racist and are going to vote against Obama because he's half black, actually. And some people are going to vote for him because he's black and they want to break the ceiling. And it's, you know, you can talk about it and speculate about it, but no one's ever really going to know.
Well, I think that Bush also has, you could even say that he has helped Obama to become president in that Bush he's selected Colin Powell and Condoleezza Rice, and one of his top advisors is a black man, and he's put these blacks in these high positions, which is wonderful, and that in a way that kind of paved the way for someone like Obama to come along and people to be more accepting and understanding, even if they have had a racist, you know, background or whatever, they feel more comfortable with that idea.
Well, also take a look at, in respect to the Bush administration and putting blacks in offices of power, take a look at the media and what the media has done with television and film, where you have a black United States president in a TV series, where you've had a black president of the United States in a movie. And if you look at it that way, that like sometimes the media is foretelling of what may be coming down the line, like look at Star Trek and cell phones. You know, the telecommunicators, that's exactly with the StarTechs when they first came out, those cell phones, that's what they look like. That's what they emulated.
Oh, really?
So a lot of times real life follows after a pattern that's been established in the media as well.
That's interesting. I never thought about that.
Yeah, I never thought. That's interesting. Well, you know what we're looking forward to in the future is a future where this simply isn't an issue.
Right.
Which you do find in certain countries. I mean, the president of Argentina is a woman right now. True, she's the wife of the former president, but Angela Merkel is the president of Germany. I forget her. Royale was her last name. I'm missing it, but who lost out to Sarkozy for the presidency of France. But it wasn't a big deal that she was a woman. The big deal was, it was between really a conservative viewpoint and a socialist viewpoint, which she espoused. The British have had Margaret Thatcher.
Well, there's an argument,
had Golda Meir.
But there's an argument out there also that it's easier for a black man to become president than it is a woman. And that was a big thing when Hillary was running that was discussed, her versus Obama. And now there's, with Sarah Palin, who I absolutely detest personally, even though I love John McCain, there are a lot of women, this has been on the news lately, a lot of women who are extremely angry and upset over the idea of Sarah Palin.
They felt it was a cynical approach. Yeah,
well, I mean, it's funny. You listen to Bill Bennett. Yesterday he said, the only reason that women don't like Palin is she's pretty, successful, and, goal-oriented or something like that, which is completely untrue. I think that, because somebody like me, I'm very afraid to have someone like that who would set back animal rights and environmental issues, decades. I mean, I wouldn't want her near the White House, and I don't want her near John McCain. And I think there are other women who feels like she sets back women's rights in the very same way. So I think that's really what it stems from, why there's this hatred of Sarah Palin. I can't agree with that.
I think Sarah Palin, when people say she's clearly not qualified for the job, I entirely...
No, that's true too, yeah.
I entirely agree. However, she is a formidable speaker. And she's certainly, if you're just looking at it as in advancing the cause of a woman politician, she has done that. However, we must not forget Hillary Clinton, who's highly qualified for the job and is also a formidable speaker, and she has done she has permanently advanced the cause of women, even though she didn't. She lost out to Barack Obama. And so what we look for in 10 years' time is that it won't really make a difference. The gender won't make a difference. The color won't make a difference. It's just who's good, who's not so good.
Well, I know Palin's favorability rating is the lowest in 28 years. In fact, Dan Quayle had a higher favorability.
Right.
It's funny, like a few weeks ago, people thought Palin was so great, but she's just been going downhill. And now people don't like McCain as much because of Palin. They think she was a bad choice, and they don't trust his decision. Like 53% of people don't trust John McCain now because of the decision of Palin. And I think inexperience is the biggest problem with most people. Obviously not animal rights, even though I find that to be the most disturbing aspect of Sarah Palin.
In regards to how you say she's a formidable speaker, I agree. She is a formidable speaker, and so is Hillary Clinton. The main difference to me is that Hillary Clinton had a lot of substance behind her style, whereas Palin is all style. I actually know a friend of mine who is a former Miss Hawaii, and she told me the answers that Sarah Palin gave during the debates were all pageant answers. In other words, she rehearsed and memorized 12 different topics and a boilerplate for each one. So whenever she received the question, she addressed the question in the first 5 or 10 seconds and then immediately went to her boilerplate answer and delivered it flawlessly.
That's very interesting.
She is a very good speaker, but she's a former pageant winner.
Really, is she?
Well, no, she didn't win. I think she got second place.
She won Miss Wasilla. She lost, she was the runner-up.
There were only 10 women in Miss Wasilla, but...
To Miss Alaska, she was the runner-up, and Miss Alaska also that year also happened to be a black woman.
Oh. Okay. Well, the next topic has to do with illegal immigration. And you remember this story that's been in the news is this little boy, this 6-year-old boy, Cole Puffenberger, who was grabbed by a drug dealer, a Mexican drug dealer, Mexican national that came in, and apparently Cole's grandfather was dealing drugs, and so there was this, that's why he was taken. But now he's been returned and he's fine. And so I wanted to, I got these statistics on illegal immigration that are just horrendous. I mean, 27% of inmates in federal prisons are criminal aliens, yet supposedly only 4% of America's population are illegals, which obviously means a disproportionate number of illegals or undocumented people are committing crimes. We have the most in California. Our prisons hold 40% of the illegals who are in state prisons throughout America, and the LA County Jail holds 13% of all the illegals in all the jails in the country. And the recidivism rate is very high. It's like 73% for deported criminal aliens. They're put back in their own country. They're rearrested within at least once within the first year, 73% of them. So it's I think it's a huge problem that we have, especially here in California, especially in Los Angeles, but in the whole country. Now, I know you have a very different view than I do.
No, first of all, from that statistic, I'd say tremendous credit to the police. If they can pick up that many recidivists fast.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Pretty darn good for our police.
Well, 28% are arrested 3 or more times. So
that's
28%.
Astonishing, yeah.
But they're getting back over the border again.
Well,
that's part of the point.
Well, one must say that the police are obviously doing a great job. The border controls are clearly inadequate, and
they have a new device, though, which did you hear this on the news? Like in the last day, it's kind of like, it's almost like a car wash, and you bring your car through it, and they can see everything in the vehicle. So they can see if you have people hidden, like, illegals hidden somewhere.
Well, that's great for the checkpoints.
Yeah, for the checkpoints, but obviously it's not going to help anywhere else. But it's still a pretty neat thing, I think.
So. It is. But does it also deliver a deadly dose of radiation?
Well, actually, it's a mild radiation, and if you don't want to go through it, you can get out of your car, and the Border Patrol guy will drive your car through this device, so you don't have to get the mild dosage. But they said that you can go through it 2,000 times, and it's the same as going in a doctor's office and getting a test.
God forbid you and your wife take a weekend trip down to TJ, and all of a sudden you can't have children.
That would be problematic.
Yes.
Did you hear about Operation Scheduled Departure?
No, but I just want to make the Puffinberger boy, thank goodness he's recovered.
Yeah.
Right.
He was put at risk by his own grandpa, who wasn't an illegal alien, but I'm assuming Puffinberger was a white male Caucasian.
Oh,
yeah. A little blonde kid with glasses.
Blonde kid with glasses. He was pretty white.
That's right. So
I think Operation Scheduled Departure is probably one of the most ridiculous operations they tried to put in.
I wish we had more time to discuss it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really crazy. We spent a lot of tax money on it. But I want to thank you both for joining me on the show today. And thank you all. We hope we put some uncommon sense into your life. As you putter through your day, remember, everybody's wrong but me and him and him. See you next time.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that.
I know.
Sometimes it seems like the world is run by chimpanzees, even though some of them might come with college degrees. It's getting hard to separate the facts from fiction, but I think I can say with obvious conviction that in this old world, everybody's wrong but me. Everybody's wrong to disagree with me. They're